How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta, and today I'm joined by Tavia. So, Tavia, how do you deal when the shit gets real? Or just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Tavia on all my spiritual platforms on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm Spiritual Auntie Tavia. I'm that lady who keeps it real with you, who's like an auntie who's going to be like, girl. People who need somebody who's a truth teller in their life. I offer Reiki, tarot, birth chart readings, spiritual protection services. So come and meet me at theclanofthecrow.com and I'd be happy to do any of those services for you.
That was like the most epic intro ever, first of all.
I'm glad you like it.
I did. But I have to know, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, where did the name Spiritual Auntie Tavia come from? Because I need to know.
So I was something else when I started my spiritual journey. I am half South African and I'm half German. And so I looked up like my familial heritage in Africa because my father is actually from there. But I was like looking up different words and I was like, I didn't just want to be daughter of the moon. Ia de la Luna in Spanish sounds beautiful, but I didn't I'm not Latina, even though I look it. So I did daughter of Inyanga, and Inyanga in Zulu, which is my dad is half Zulu. It means moon. And it was a fairly recent change that I changed it to Spiritual Auntie Tavia because I was like, I don't have to not necessarily hide behind, but I felt that I didn't have to be the daughter of someone for you to follow me, or because I'm a daughter of the moon. Selene is my goddess, the Greek goddess of the moon. And I was like, you know what? Like people are coming to me for me. And so I changed it to Spiritual Auntie Tavia. And I don't want any children. I don't have any kids. I'm at the age where I'm an auntie and I can give you that advice. Like, you come to me and you're like, hey, this is, hey, auntie, I'm drunk and I need you to pick me up. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna drop you off. I'll make sure you're safe. So definitely Spiritual Auntie Tavia, I felt fit me really well.
I love it. I mean, who doesn't love the fun aunt?
Right? I like the return to sender option, but we can party and we can have a good time and we can have hella fun.
That's perfect. And then I need more about you being a daughter of the moon and Selene. Like, tell us more about that.
So when I started my so I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, by the way. So when a lot of people are like,
okay.
Yeah. So when a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know where to start. I was like Alice down the white rabbit hole in my spiritual journey about 6 years ago. It was one of my first soul sisters that was telling me this information. She's like, oh, you're a daughter of the moon, right? She's like, Selene specifically. And it was like she hit me with a gong. And it was like something aligned, and just really resonated with me. And I was like, oh my God, like all of these different synchronicities started to make sense. Okay, cool. And yeah, I've been following her ever since. Have an altar and everything. I even have, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I wanted a piece of jewelry and I love like coin jewelry. And so I got this, and it's actually a Greek drachma coin before they changed to euros, and it's like laser cut, and that's her riding a horse.
That is so cool. No, that is so
unique
cool.
Piece of jewelry.
So you were a Jehovah's Witness. Did you really knock on doors and like give people stuff? Is that really a thing?
Yes, my whole entire life. I was born into it, and my mom was raised in it. My dad was raised in it, but I was like born into it, like going to the Kingdom Hall, which is it's like the same church. Going to the Kingdom Hall like 3 times a week, having Bible study, going out on knocking on people's doors, which are called service, on Saturdays. And I did that until I was like 19.
And then I
was an elder's daughter.
Oh my God.
On top of that, which is like being like a pastor's kid. I'm sorry, what did you ask?
And just one day you were like, I've had enough. This does not suit me.
I fell in love with someone who ended up being a terrible person for me.
Okay, not schmoopy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think because I was a teenager, so like Jehovah's Witnesses believe that, they're not like Catholics in the sense where they baptize the children immediately. They wait for you to basically come to the realization, oh, this is what you want to do. But there's a lot of pressure behind it. And there's a lot of like, well, you should know that you want to dedicate your life to Jehovah, even though you're 17, you're a child. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years later, I was like, I don't necessarily think I want to do this anymore. And like, didn't date, didn't have my first kiss until I was like 15, didn't hold hands with a boy, like nothing like that. And then, you know, I was like, I kind of want to have like a normal life and like be like a normal kid. You know, I couldn't go to school dances, never celebrated Christmas, never celebrated a birthday in my life. And then when I was 19, my father basically gave me an ultimatum. He said, because I had a boyfriend at the time, but I was still living with my parents. I was still having to ask, you know, can I go out? Can I do this? I had like a curfew. And there was no way I could have ever said, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I remember my dad was like, well, if you don't want to live by my rules and God's laws, he essentially told me that I could get the fuck out. And so I did. And I left. And then I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship for 14 years after that. But it
Wow, that's a
definitely,
long
it's a really long
time.
time. Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness. How did you finally get out of that after 14 years? That had to be really hard.
It was. My spiritual awakening, I feel like, is what saved me, essentially. He was very controlling, never physically abusive, but mentally abusive. When I started, so one thing with narcissists is they want you to keep your circle really small. They don't want you talking to people. They don't want you saying things to other people. So when I started talking to my coworker, I remember just randomly, I told her, I said, oh yeah, he didn't talk to me for 4 days when he got upset with me. And she just looks me in my face and she's like, Tavia, that's not normal. She's like, you know, that's abusive, right? And that was like my first, I don't know, like thread pull. And I was like, that's interesting, because that's how I grew up. Like if my father was upset with me, he wouldn't speak to me. So, you know, you kind of repeat the patterns through your life. And then I started talking to more people and they were like, yeah, that's not normal. That's not what a loving partner does. And then the more I became spiritually awakened in December of 2018. And I started to have a group of like soul sisters and soul family, and we would chat, and he would get very angry and upset when I would start to connect with other people, even though I was like this. Like if I didn't have my headphones off, he could hear what I was saying. He could hear me. I was there, but he was upset that I was starting to have friends and I was starting to be independent, and I was starting to be like, fuck you, bro. Like, no, I'm going to go out with my friends and have a drink. This is the address. If you want to stop by, you can. Like it just light bulbs started clicking and turning. And then I remember it was in 2020, height of the pandemic, shelter in place. I was like, I have had enough. I was like, no, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. He also came from a really toxic family, which didn't really help anything. And I remember like I prayed and I was like, I said, Spirit, they were showing me the Fool card in tarot. And the Fool is like new journey. You have to take the leap. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I will leap, but I need you to catch me. And I remember I prayed and I was like, I need to go to a safe place. I need to be able to pay my bills. And he was also financially abusing me as well. And I was like, I need to be able to save. I need to be able to do all these things. And within a week, I was able to find a place. And then within 2 weeks, I left. But the whole time of me trying to leave, I was in a separate bedroom. I was laying on an air mattress. I've had 2 back surgeries, by the way. Okay.
Oh no.
So I'm laying on an air mattress because that's how badly I wanted to get away. And I was in the other bedroom. I come home, the air mattress just popped. In one moment, he's calling me a bitch. The next moment, he's crying on his knees, saying he can't live without me. And oh, we can go get married, and like just all these things. And it was so hard. Like I just wanted to tell him to shut up. Like just shut up. He told me he was going to put all my shit out on the street and like just all these things. He told me I had to pay rent, even though the house was paid off. Like it was just one thing after another, after another, after another. And he would always tell me. So for people who are listening to this, if somebody that is abusive to you or who is a narcissist says, oh, just wait, when you leave, you're going to get treated way worse, that is a motherfucking lie. That's a lie. Okay.
Yep.
I am literally now in a relationship, a Morticia and Gomez relationship, where I am being worshipped and treated like a goddess. It is out there. Do not let them try and pull you back in and tell you that they are the best you're ever going to get. That's a lie. So that's what he would tell me. Oh, if you think I'm bad, just wait until you're with somebody else. Other people are going to treat you way worse. Nobody else is going to want you. You're fat, all these things. And I was like, you know what? I had the attitude of, even if I'm alone for the rest of my life, which I knew I wasn't going to be, but I was like, even if I'm alone for the rest of my life, I need to get out of this situation and I need to leave, because this is not worth it. And I literally had the thought process, even if I had to be living in my car, I needed to leave this person.
Yeah.
And I did.
I remember having similar thoughts when I left a
Mhm.
narcissistic relationship. I was like,
Yeah.
I would rather be alone than be in this
Absolutely.
any longer.
Right. And then it's also too, it's the whole, what was the word I was going to say? They try and they always ask, thank you, Spirit. They always say like, oh, well, is it because of somebody else? No, I just don't want to be with you. And that's like literally mind blowing to them. Like that you would rather be alone than be with them. It's wild.
That's how big their ego is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Just that, like, you would rather be alone than with me? That is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that you're calling your new relationship Morticia and Gomez because I love
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah, I do too. And I literally manifested it. I would always watch them and I would be like, I love because my ex was never into PDA. Don't touch me, like get off me, was always trying to tell me to be quiet. And like my man now, his name is Justin. And if you ever hear me, if you guys are following me, I say Buddhist boyfriend, that's what I'm talking about. So I would just he is always kissing me, always touching me. He tells me he loves me 1,500 times a day, like ooey gooey. Like we're always laughing. We're always doing things in public. Like that's how you know it's the right person, when they're trying to make you shine brighter and to be more of yourself than trying to have you be quiet. But yeah, I definitely manifested that. I wrote that down, Morticia and Gomez love story, and I definitely got it.
Oh, as a hopeless romantic, I love it.
Yes, it's amazing.
It's kind of funny you talked about that though. My husband and I were just helping my mom and dad move in, and he like smacked my butt in front of my mom, and I was like, "What are you doing?
Oh my God, I'm gonna die!"
And my mom's like, "I wish your dad still did that," and I'm like, "And I'm leaving."
You're like, and I'm getting out of the room. It's so funny because like I'm in my 30s, and his parents. I live in the Bay Area in California, and we live, when the A's were still here, they would buy my boyfriend's immediate family is like 50 people. And
Holy
so
crap.
they would buy like nosebleed seat sections, and they would do a tailgate or whatever. And so in order to help, because they cook food for everyone, I was like, oh, can I spend the night? Because at that time he was living with his parents, and now we're together in our own place. And his mother, Rietta, goes, yeah, you can come over, but only a little bit of butt touching, not a lot of butt touching. And I was just like, Sabrina, what do you? And I've given up on trying to tell him like not to touch my butt. So I just told him, I was like, this is up here is the no-no zone in front of your family. I was like, we can do chaste, gentle butt touches, but other than that, like, no, thank you.
I also would have been questioning like if she was actually talking about like butt touching. Like, are we talking about the butt? Are we getting more personal? Like, I'd be worried that she's like referencing
either or. And I was not ready to dive deeper into that comment. I just said, okay.
You're like 10-4, heard.
Got it. A little bit of butt touching. Okay.
Oh my God. That's awesome. So how did your spiritual journey turn into like your own? It went from just being you to you turning it into a business.
So I was told that I was like psychic, and by the same person that told me about me being a daughter of the moon. And I was just like, are you for real? I was like, are you serious? Not that I didn't believe it, but I didn't necessarily think that I could necessarily do it. And so my one friend was like, well, you should start with like tarot readings. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. She's like, yes, you are. And she kind of like pushed me out of the door, like Gandalf pushed Bilbo out to go, seek the dragon Smaug. Was like, okay, here you go. You got this. Like, okay, bye. And then like disappeared, And so at first I just started just with close people. I asked them, hey, can I just practice with you? Mm-hmm. And then I did readings like that. And then I just felt really called to help people. My tarot reader, shout out to Kiara, she asked me what my midheaven was. And at that point, I was not into astrology. I was like, it does not make sense to me. I have no idea what any of these things mean. Like, like as Lo says, it's like speaking a different language.
It is.
And so she's like, oh, look up what that is. And I said, oh, it's a Leo, and it's in my 10th house. And she's like, you're supposed to be a teacher. She's like, you're supposed to teach other people about themselves spiritually. She's like, and because you are extremely, like, I am not, like, don't y'all, if y'all listening to me and here right now, I am not the person that you want to come to if you want me to tell you what you want to hear. There are way too many readers out there like that. I'm authentic and I'm going to like let you know. And she's like, that's your strong point of like hearing the messages. And then also how I became auntie is like I said, like, girl, like if I was reading for you, I'd be like, Rietta, you can do this. Why, you know, like I'm talking to you like a friend, you know? So when she said that, I was just like, okay. And then I was like, I knew I wanted to do pranic healing, but then I wasn't able to find a teacher at the time. And because it was during the pandemic. And then somebody that I found, it ended up being like a very toxic, like group situation. So like the group that we're in, the Cosmic Baddies, y'all should join it because it's freaking amazing.
Yes,
and Lo
our group is amazing.
Freaking chef's kiss. The energy is elevated. We are all equals. We are all here to learn, teach, and help each other. The other group that I was in was not like that at all. But I'm grateful because she put me in touch with my Reiki teacher. And she was like, oh, Reiki. But I knew who she was talking about. But I was like, I don't want to do group classes. Like, I am the type of person, like, I'm a good student. And if you are sitting there asking a million questions, I already know I'm about to be like, this bitch, you know, like I get very annoyed. And then it's like, if I'm the teacher, I have patience for it. But if I'm a student and I'm with you, that annoys the shit out of me. So I told her, I was like, I don't want to do group class. She's like, oh no, you can do them individually. So then I got Reiki certified. You know, I added, you know, different things. Like I read runes and just all those things. And like, it feels easy in the sense of, I feel like that's what I'm meant to be doing. So it started growing in that way. I hope that answered your question.
It did. And actually, it just gave me goosebumps that we were meant to have this conversation because, like, I started tarot not too long ago. Because, like, the same thing, like, I have very in tune intuition. And then I was like, oh, I have Nordic
Yeah, that's a great
background.
tool. I love it.
And I was like, oh, I should add in runes. And I had just started thinking about it. And now here you are talking about it. So, hello. It was supposed to happen.
That's great. I have a book, The Beginner's Guide to Reading Runes. I really like that one. And that was super helpful because it talks about every single rune. Do you have that one? It has runes on the side cover. It's white and it has gold writing. I love it because it's broken down and it tells you every single like meaning behind it and everything like that, and like the lore and the mythology behind the rune reading. And I got my sister's friend does rune readings, and I got one from her, and she gave me so much more insight of like, she was like, oh, you're supposed to, if you can, be as close to the ground as you can because you want to be grounded. You want to have a sacred circle. And I actually got like a cloth and everything too, and it has all the directions. And then I create the circle with the different, something that you might find helpful. I create the different cardinal directions with those specific, because the elements and the directions are connected in the sense of like air, fire, earth, water. And then I use crystals to do that anyways. And me being of Germanic heritage, I was just like, oh no, this like, oh yes, like this feels right too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, because I have Nordic roots, I'm like, this just all makes sense to me. So, and it just, I feel like it really is a good addition to tarot to just make it clearer, if that makes sense.
Right. Like clarification runes, or, you know, sometimes you can just, you know, pull a couple and then you're like, okay. And then if you're like, oh, I'm stuck, and then you get laguz, you're like, oh, okay, things are going to start flowing now, you know?
Do you have like a favorite part of how you've grown spiritually, or are you just loving it all?
Me being self-aware of myself and how other people play a part in my healing journey. Because I think sometimes not everybody realizes that some people are mirrors, and not even in the sense of like, if they're being rude to you and like, how are you going to react? I'm going to give you an example. So before I met my boyfriend, I was like completely alone. I was celibate, not by choice, but I felt like I needed to do it. And like the longer it went on, I was like, okay, this is teaching me something here right now. And somebody that I know was going to be proposing to their future fiance. And I got really sad because I was with somebody for 14 years and the only time they proposed to me was when I was on my way out. And it was with an ugly ass ring that they were like, oh, you don't like it? Like, what? Anyways. And they were like designing the ring and they were talking to everybody about it. And I was like, I want that. But instead of me getting upset and angry or frustrated or like not want to talk about it, I was like, this is out there. I changed my perspective. And I was like, no, I'm going to have somebody who loves me, who's going to be doing the same thing, or just being self-aware. And like, I'm not meeting you where you're at. Like, you can bring your ass up here. Like, I'm not going to lower myself. Or then also another thing that I really like that I've learned in my spiritual journey is about duality. Like, I'm all love and light, but I am sage and hood, and I wish a motherfucker would. Like, I will mollywop your ass. Like,
I need a t-shirt that says that.
I saw that, I think, on TikTok, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's me. Because I think that the toxic part of the spirituality is like, oh, you have to be all love and light. And nothing is all love and light. In order to see your light, you also have to acknowledge your shadow. You also have to acknowledge your darkness. And, you know, when I hear people, like I heard somebody, like, I said, oh yeah, I was like, I would have like been like, who the fuck are you talking to? And somebody goes, oh, you shouldn't let people like get you out of your character. And I was like, who says that's not my character? Like, I'm going to check you if you're saying something out of pocket. So that's another thing that I really like. And then also you can have fun and like, you can do it your way. Like, you don't have to do one path unless it's like a closed practice and there's very specific things, but like your spirituality, I saw that what I like about it is that they said, so religion is like a fish in a bowl and you're only swimming in the tank. Or you're swimming in that bowl. Spirituality is you are outside of the bowl and you can swim all around and you're looking at the religion. So I feel like you can take what works for you, and it doesn't have to be in a cookie cutter shape, and it doesn't have to be, that's what I like about it, is it's not organized, and I don't have to, you know, feel bad, or there's not shame, or, you know, I can have a human experience.
Yeah, I really like that reference. I'm such a visual person, so I feel like that's a great like visualization of how to look at it. So for anyone that is just like starting on their spiritual journey or interested on how to take it, what advice would you give them?
My advice to anybody starting their spiritual journey is trust your intuition. It's really hard to hear it when you first start out, but one thing that I have learned that I've known this, I guess, internally, but so I heard somebody say this. Her name is Intuitive Living on TikTok. She said, your intuition is emotionless. She said, your intuition, it does not have anxiety. Your intuition is not stressed. It's not angry. It's not loud. It's, don't do that. Pick that up. You shouldn't go there. Like, it's very muted and you have to be able to listen to it. And another thing, and this is in life, but specifically in the spiritual community, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. It doesn't matter that you need evidence. It doesn't matter that somebody else is telling you that it's okay. If it feels wrong to you, it is. And connect with your body. Your body will tell you when something is wrong. And it's okay. Like, if you misstep, it's okay if, you know, you thought you were going to go this way, or I guess I'm going to go back over here, or, and like, don't let people put limits on you of what it is that you can learn or what it is that, you know, you're called to do. Like, you don't have to have a niche. You can like do a whole bunch of stuff and like figure it out along the way. Like, the journey is the exciting part, and don't be so worried about getting to a destination. So that would be my advice.
All great reminders, because I think a lot of us get caught up in like people pleasing and being like, oh, well, I was asked, so I have to do that, even though I don't think it's a good idea. So
exactly. And that's set your boundaries. Who cares if they don't like you or they're upset? Oh, well, like that's my thing. Oh, well, sorry. Like, but I'm taking care of me now.
Yep. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. I love it. So for anybody who wants to work with you, how can they do that?
They can visit me at theclanofthecrow.com. I have a contact tab on there, or you can slide into my DMs at Spiritual Auntie Tavia, which is on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And what's the significance behind the name, the Clan of the Crow?
Woo! So This is really funny.
Ooh, this is going to be a
So
good story. I'm ready.
since my spiritual awakening, I did not notice this. And my best friend, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, goes, there's crows wherever you are. And I was like, what? And I always say, good morning, Brother Crow. Good morning, Sister Crow. Because crows are messenger birds and they can also hold space, and they can pierce the veil. And so she was like, wherever we go, she's like, there's always crows. And I was like, that doesn't happen to you. She's like, no. She's like, I never see crows anywhere. She's like, except when I'm with you. And I'm like, really? And I always say, like, if I hear a crow caw, I always say, good morning, Brother Crow. Good morning, Sister Crow. Or hello, Brother Crow. Hello, Sister Crow. And at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, I had very significant experience with crows and ravens. And I gave offerings to them, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was in Yosemite, and it was very beautiful. And so the crows, I've always, crows are a symbiotic carrion bird. So they don't kill anything. They are carry-on birds, so they will eat carcasses or things left behind. But crows are symbiotic in the sense that they work with the community and even other animals. Like crows and ravens will work with wolves, and like the crows or the ravens will tell the wolves, hey, there's stuff over here. The wolves will eat, and then the crows or the ravens will go and like pick the thing clean. They're also mysterious. They represent transformation, and they also can work alone, or they can be in their murder. And I was like, I feel like that's me. Like I can work with people. I can work by myself. I'm okay being alone. I'm helpful to other people. I consider myself more of a guide in the sense of my spiritual journey. Like I'm not going to necessarily give you all the answers. I'm going to have you ask questions to yourself, so I feel like a lot of times crows will do that too. Like, they'll point out little things along the way. And so for me, I had an old tattoo, and 2 years ago I got it covered up, and I wanted a crow. And that's when I learned all those things about, the mystery, this, that, and the other. And I got it flying over a cherry blossom tree, and cherry blossoms, Japanese cherry blossoms specifically, represent a time of renewal when spring has happened. And so that for me was the birth of the clan of the crow, because I was like, if you are like me and you're a misfit, if you are mysterious, if you work alone, if you feel like you don't belong, if you feel like, you need a guide, I am here. And I belong to the clan of the crow because I have a big one on my back. And I feel like those who are of the clan get it. So, and I think that sounds dope. Oh, the clan of the crow. Don't mind me. Just coming through. You want to ask more about it, right? You're like, clan of the crow. You're like, let me see what this is about.
Yeah. So what is
that's
this?
how it was born. Mm-hmm.
See, another alignment thing. I just started watching a lady on TikTok that owns a raven. I think she lives in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And like she tells all these cool stories about it. Like I didn't know they like talked and like made real life noises. It's wild. Mm-hmm. They're so smart.
Yeah, and they're smart as like a 5-year-old child. And they're able to like problem solve, which I think is really dope. And then one of the coolest facts that I've ever heard about a crow is that, let's say I save a crow or I feed a crow. They pass down genes to let their children know that I am a safe person.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? I was like, that's dope. Or then I even heard like they can know the difference between if you're like holding a broom at them that's like a gun, or if you're actually holding a gun. Like they're able to differentiate and stuff like that. So crows are pretty dope.
They're cool birds, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the services you offer is a spiritual-led soul guidance. So what is that?
So this is for people who maybe need help, or maybe are on their journey, or they feel stuck at a specific point. So it's essentially like, you tell me what the issue is. So like, as an example, if somebody's come to me and they're like, well, I feel like I'm having trouble communicating with my spirit guides. And then I ask them all these questions. And basically, instead of channeling with tarot or channeling with runes or, channeling with Reiki to my client, my spirit guides will give me that information, and I'll essentially channel From then, we'll be like, okay, well, have you tried this, and this? And then we go over all of that information. I type it out and I give you your information on, how you can do this and what it is that we went over in that session. So it's really great for people who feel like they're stuck or they don't know where to start, or maybe they just have questions about specific things within the spiritual community, but they feel like they need more one-on-one time in order to answer those questions.
Well, what an awesome service. I'm intrigued.
Yes, I would love to have you.
Yeah, that is amazing. So any final advice or just goodies you want to leave my listeners with?
Be yourself. Be yourself. Authenticity rules all. And in the event that you are on your journey, wherever you are, spiritual or secular, don't let people take your authenticity, or don't make people make you feel bad for being authentic, or don't feel bad when people don't like it, because the right people will come and the right people will love it. And they will be like, I like her. And then the reason all of those things happen is because you start to vibrate out of those people's spheres. So if you start to have loss when you're on your spiritual journey, that's normal, because those people don't align with you anymore. And that's okay. But the universe will replace it with something better. So don't worry.
A beautiful reminder from Spiritual Auntie Tavia. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy that you had me. I enjoyed myself.
And this is how to deal when the shit gets real, guys. I'll see you all next episode.